Good evening. I would like to call to order the Wednesday, June 10th, school committee meeting. The time now is 7 p.m. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to ask our honored guests, the retirees, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The June 10th, 2015 school committee meeting will be televised and recorded. Under the open meeting law, the public is permitted to make an audio or video recording of an open session at a public meeting. At this time, I would ask if anyone is recording tonight's meeting to please identify themselves.
Brennan Full, the town crier.
Thank you.
Chelsea.
Thank you, Chelsea. At this time, I would like to welcome back Mrs. Miller, former member of the school committee who was recently appointed to the school committee. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you.
We're going to go right into our recognition, so I'm going to turn it over at this time to Dr. O'Connor.
Thank you. Wow, there's someone who's excited. We are here to recognize our retirees from the Tewksbury Public Schools. I will tell you that the number of individuals that we will be recognizing and honoring this evening represent over 400 years of experience just with the Tewksbury Public Schools. When you lose that many years' experience to that level of wisdom, we are a lesser school district because of that. This is the end, or nearing the end of the baby boomers, and we have been looking at large numbers of people who have been retiring the last 10 or so years here in the Tewksbury schools. This year is no different. When you see the number of people, the levels at which they're teaching, and the number of years that they have impacted the lives of kids, you will be sad to see all of them go. I'm sure all of them are feeling that way today, and probably have been feeling that way for a while. And then when they wake up tomorrow, they're feeling just the opposite. That it's feeling pretty good to think about retirement. So we're just pleased that they are here. They have responded. There are only 2 individuals that could not make it this evening. I'll mention them in just a moment. But they all responded. They were all looking forward to this event. And I'm pleased that their administrators are here from many of the schools. In fact, we also have 2 administrators that we're recognizing tonight as honorees. So from the high school, Linda House has been a school nurse here in Tewksbury for 22 years. Linda, would you come on up, please? Also retired from the high school, but he could not be here this evening, was Brian Hickey. From the John Wynn Middle School, Gail Hamilton. Gail. Gail has the distinction of having served the longest in the Tewksbury schools. Gail has been with us for 40 years. Stand over there with Gail, so we want to get a very special. When you look around the room, Gail has been teaching longer than a lot of people have been born in this room. So it is amazing. Kathleen Cannell, science teacher, also at the middle school, 35 years. From the Ryan Elementary School, Beryl Pudster McKenna. 7 years. Yeah, we're going to have you. Can you folks line up over here? That way we can get you on camera. This way? That's right. Joanne O'Brien, English language arts teacher. Barbara Gillette Manor, 16 years. Marsha Caloritas, 46 years. How many of those years were at the Trahan?
9.
9. Where else were you?
I started at East Rainham, then I went to the center, then I went to the Baptist church, then I went to the Heathbrook, and then I went back to the church.
You have a little history of the school district. Amazing. Linda Carter, food service staff member, could not be here. She's retiring with 10 years. From the North Street School, Mary Louise Adams with 20 years. From the Heathbrook Elementary School, Patricia Kenny, 20 years experience. From the Dewing Elementary School, Elizabeth Robinson, reading specialist, 12 years. Also from the Dewing, Pamela Lucier, classroom aide, 31 years. And our two administrators, Donna Mooney, principal, retiring as a principal, 24 years. And from the Heathbrook School, Rosamond Dorrance, principal, 15 years. So on behalf of the school committee and the town of Pittsburgh, we represented you all with a clock. It's engraved. It has your name on it, the number of years of service, and we truly appreciate all of the work that you have done. You have contacted thousands of children over these many 400 years. Phenomenal the impact you have had on kids. Many of them could be in their 50s and my age, with 46 years. Just unbelievable the number of years that you folks have worked for us, and we truly appreciate it. Mrs. Palomino, I know, has something that she would like to say as well.
On behalf of the school committee, we would like to extend our appreciation for your dedicated years of service to the Tewksbury Public Schools. In recognition of your service, you have received a timepiece, your clock, and we wonder if you will use it as retirees. In this point in your life, we know your schedule is going to be your own. We wish you many happy, healthy years of retirement that are so well deserved. Thank you for everything you've done for the students here in Tewksbury Public Schools.
As you're prepared to exit, and sort of on a final note, we're always looking for substitutes. We want to put you to work next year, so keep that in mind. Folks, thank you for coming out to recognize these tremendous women who, like I said, has touched the lives of a lot of kids and all of us here at the school district. We appreciate the grandchildren and everyone that came out this evening. It means a lot to them, and I know it means a lot to the school committee to have all of you here this evening. So again, thank you very much. Ariana, are you here?
Right here.
Ariana, how are you? So, I'm going to have you just sit in that chair right there for a minute, okay? And your mom here? Beautiful. Great. All right. Are we ready?
So moving on along, we're going to go into recognition number 2. I'm going to turn this over to Dr. O'Connor to make the announcement.
Well, thank you. We have Mrs. Buckford is here from Food Services. And she was very excited about a proposal that came to her a month or so ago by one of our students who said, why can't we have a gluten-free lunch one day? And Mrs. Buckford, being a very shrewd administrator that she is, she said, we'd love to. Why don't you plan it? Well, Ariana Rosa did just that. And Ariana is here tonight to be recognized by the school committee for the work that she did in organizing a gluten-free lunch. Ariana, why don't you stand up? And Mr. Dick is going to read something to you. If you want to stand over by him.
All right. We have a resolution of recognition, whereas Ariana Russo, a 7th grade student at the John Wynn Middle School, wanted to have a gluten-free lunch meal at the middle school, and Ariana approached Deborah Lee Mugford, our food service director, requesting to develop a gluten-free menu day. And whereas Ariana was given approval to develop a gluten-free meal that also met the USDA meal pattern, and Ariana met the USDA and gluten-free requirements for a lunch menu that would be available to all celiac students as well as the entire student body. And whereas on May 19, 2015, Ariana's gluten-free meal lunch, baked glazed chicken breast fillet, mashed potatoes, steamed broccoli, Uncle Ben's whole grain rice, and peaches with topping was served district-wide. And whereas Ariana has brought great pride and recognition and enthusiasm and honor to herself, to her parents and family, to the school, and to the town of Tewksbury. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tewksbury School Committee applauds, honors, and recognizes the outstanding achievement of John Wynn Middle School student Ariana Rosso for her gluten-free lunch meal. So that's a great accomplishment. Hold like this.
May I just add something to that?
Come on up and why don't you sit at the table with
I don't need a microphone, I got 5 voice. Ariana also prepared posters and put them throughout the district. She also prepared a PowerPoint that she wants to present in her health class. Principal Ware made an announcement that morning to the whole student body explaining celiac. So I think everybody got an educational lesson here because of Ariana.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Ariana, did you want to say anything to the committee? You just want to go home and do your homework. All right. Well, Ariana, thank you very much. We are all very proud of you. And thank you for not just planning the menu, but making everyone in your school aware of, health issues, and we truly appreciate that. Thank you.
We have our student representative, Mr. Justin Petrie, here for the first time, so we'd like to welcome him, and we're excited for him to be joining the school committee. So at this time, I'm going to ask Justin to present the Tewksbury Memorial High School report.
Thank you. Notes from Tewksbury Memorial High School. Chemistry Club met yesterday for one last experiment before the end of the school year, and they are planning to plan more demonstrations for the upcoming year. National Honor Society just elected new officers, Ethan Kartoffy as treasurer, Taylor Kellogg as secretary, Bianca Bichetti as vice president, and Nicole Petherbridge and Amanda Reckby as co-presidents. They will resume the recycling program before finals next week. Tolerance Corps also held their elections in which Jasmine Ganem and Allie Carey became the newly elected co-presidents. The freshman, sophomore, and junior class councils are holding their elections this week, and all results will be announced by the end of the week. Student council is preparing their fall sports programs to be held at all fall sports games and events. They are also partnering with peer leadership to host the class of 2019's freshman orientation. There will be a meeting Monday, June 15th after school. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move right over to Dr. O'Connor for the presentations with the agreements this evening.
Thank you. We have two contracts, labor agreements that are up for our approval this evening. I would like to welcome the town manager, Richard Montori, who usually participates in the voting contracts with the school committee. So our first contract that's up is between Teamsters Local Union number 25, that is the Tewksbury School Nurses. Could we have representatives from the school nurses please come up to the table, along with, we have Mrs. Palomino and Mr. Francis representing the school committee. Go up and we will have the official signing of, well, maybe before we should vote to accept the contract first. Can we do that? Great, thank you. Just so you know, I do have a memo that defines the new money that's associated with the contracts. This contract does call for a 2.5% salary increase for fiscal year 2016. That total dollar value is $10,590.27. In year 2 of the contract, there is a 2.5 salary increase in there. Plus, we are adding step 10 to the employment contract. The total value of the step plus the 2.5, $17,608.25. And in the year 2018, again, a 2.5% increase with an 11th step for a total of $18,619.69. Also note that there is an annual stipend of $200 for uniform clothing allowance, which brings that total dollar value in year 1 of the contract for approximately $2,000. The overall value of this contract over the life of the contract over the 3 years is $48,818.21.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the contract between the Teamsters Local Union number 25, Tewksbury School Nurses, and the Tewksbury School Committee.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second on the floor this evening for the memorandum agreement between the Teamsters Local Union number 25, Tewksbury School Nurses, and the Tewksbury School Committee. This does require a roll call vote. Mrs. Miller, how do you vote? Aye. Mr. Cutlass, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Francis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Dick, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Montori, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. That's a unanimous vote.
Now, if we can have the official signing of the agreement and the contracts. We will just have the 2 school committee members at the present time sign it, and after the meeting, we'll allow the other 3 and the town manager to. By the way, as they're signing, Elaine Walsh and Kelly Constantino are the 2 reps from the nurses organization that are here this evening. Kelly was involved in a number of the negotiation sessions. Elaine was not fully involved. She was at every one session.
We all agreed unanimously also.
I don't know if either one of you wanted to comment on the negotiations, the spirit of the negotiations, how it went, now that we're here.
Mr. Francis?
Thank you. Just want to say negotiations was great. Everybody involved really sat down, get together, try to work out an agreement. It was really a pleasure. the negotiating team and the representative, and the fact that it's a fair and equitable contract for both the nurses and for the school district. It was a pleasure in that negotiation. Thank you.
And Joan Kerry is here. Joan is the labor representative for the Teamsters. Joan, you are here somewhere, way in the back. Joan was also very instrumental in negotiations with the contract. She wanted to stay well in the background and did not want to come up. She's also involved in the administrators group, Teamster Local number 25, and the success agreement. We do have representatives this evening. I believe Mr. Libby is here and Mr. Long, part of the negotiating team, along with Joan Corey. If you come up, I'm just going to quickly identify the new money in the contract so everyone is aware that this contract does call for a 2.5% salary increase each year over the 3 years of the contract. In year one, that 2.5% increase represents $18,618. In year two, $19,718, and in year three, $20,376, for a total dollar value of $58,712. There are also some significant changes to the contract that I would just like to share with you. There are a number of full-time employees in the agreement who are reducing the number of vacation days from 25 to 23 days. We are adding 2 additional work days to the 210-day contract, which are generally the assistant principals. They're going from 210 to 212 work days. We also added 2 sick days to the assistant principals to bring them down to a total of 15, which is in line with what we're doing with our other labor agreements. We've also scaled back the vacation accrual that the employees is allowed to bank, if you will. Currently, the contract reads 30 days. We're reducing that to 10, which makes our long-term liability lessened. It's lessened because of that reduction. And we've also added some language regarding parental leave for birth or adoption of a child. And we have added the athletic director / facilities manager to the contract. And we have removed a number of positions that are no longer in existence here in the school district from the contract. Mr. Long, Mr. Libby, thank you for coming up. Did either of you want to comment on the negotiations? No. Everyone fine? Well, that was easy. So, can we have a motion to accept the labor agreement for 3 years?
I'll make that motion to accept the 3-year contract between the Tewksbury Administrators Group and the school committee.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second on the floor to approve the memorandum of agreement between the Teamsters Local Union number 25 TAG and the Tewksbury School Committee. This does require a roll call vote. Mrs. Miller, how do you vote? Aye. Mr. Cutlass?
Aye.
Mr. Francis?
Aye.
Mr. Dick?
Aye.
Mr. Montori?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. Again, that's unanimous vote. Congratulations.
Would you, gentlemen that were involved in the, Mr. Cutlass and Ms. Palomino, would you mind signing that? Mrs. Johnson, when they're done, can you bring all the MOUs plus the contracts over to Mr. Montori? He'll sign them and we'll pass them down. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you coming in this evening.
Okay, next on our agenda, we have the presentation for the multifamily development, Dr. Agar.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hanley, Civil Design Consultants, is here this evening. He has brought his entourage with him. Mark Ginsburg, all of us know pretty well. I believe Richard Pupo is here, and I'm not.
My name is Joel Kahn.
Joel Kahn. Joel, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members, while Jim's setting up his exhibits, we know you have a full agenda, so we'll start moving right along. The project that we have before you this evening is a 192-unit apartment complex situated on the southerly side, if you're coming down Victor Drive on the right-hand side, where that large vacant area is currently. We thought that this would be an interest to the school department, not only from the fact that of the impact that it may have on the town or the school district, but also because we are a neighbor. And, you know, we want to be a good neighbor. And Mark's custom is always to reach out to the neighbors while he's going through the permitting process to make everybody aware of everything that's going on. Jim's going to get into some of the specifics, which we won't get into the nuts and bolts, but one of the things that's a major issue that usually comes up when we talk about apartments is that you know, they contain more school-age children than single-family homes. Well, there was a study done by the Joint Center of Housing at Harvard University, which actually has some very good statistics in there. And the fact is that studies show that 100 single-family homes would generate 51 school-age children, where 100 apartments would average about 31. The number is a little skewed because when you talk about new construction, the number for single-family homes goes up to 64, and the number for children in new apartments goes down. And that's primarily because the average apartment resident now is empty nesters, young people just coming out of college and getting started, burdened with student loans and so forth and so on. Different lifestyle change for them, and they don't usually have children. Another thing that's beneficial that is sometimes often overlooked is that the apartments actually pay a pretty large sum of taxes to the community, not like a single-family development where you're paying $8,000–9,000 for 10 homes versus 192 apartments. So the economic side of the coin for the apartments is something that is always in a plus. Jim's going to touch on traffic, and one of the things that we have looked into is that on average, apartment residents, they own fewer cars and they make fewer daily vehicle trips than single-family homes. They're less likely to go into soccer or dance recitals and the like. So, and that number is significant. Single-family homeowners, their cars, on an average, single-family home makes 18% more vehicle trips in a week than apartments, 31% more vehicle trips on a Saturday, and 41% more on Sunday. So I guess a lot of us single-family home dwellers go to church. So I guess that's one good thing that would happen. But you know, this was when we started into this project. Mark wanted to look at everything. And Joel's going to go into it a bit more detail, but we got the hold of this study from Harvard University and said, you know, this is something that's really good. If you ever want to read it, it's about 240 pages, small type. So it's good reading for someday when you're on vacation. So without any further ado, I'll turn it over to Jim and then Joe.
Okay, great. Thanks, Dave. So just to give you, there we go.
Start off, my name is Jim Hanley again. I'm a professional civil engineer, and I've been working on the project for the better part of the year. Just to get your bearings here, I want to throw this sketch up so you can kind of get a sense of where we're at. This is Main Street here. This is Route 38, Victory Drive. Carter Green development is over in this area, and Wood School is here. So that was one of the reasons I thought it would be a good idea to come by and just kind of get you comfortable with what we are proposing here. So just to give you a sense too, this plan set is currently under review by planning boards, by conservation, by a number of different state agencies. It's really the result of 12 months, give or take, of work between myself, the architects, the industry experts, to try to put together this set of plans and work out all the details. We've done a number of informal meetings with a number of different boards just to try to get their comments in so we could put those comments into the design. So our access right here is about 800 feet east of the school. We're about 200 feet to the west of Patrick Road and about 400 feet to the west of Main Street. The underlying zoning district on this is multifamily development. We are proposing multifamily development here. So this is like a by right zoning project based on the underlying zoning. It's been that way for roughly 30 years. Our whole lot area is about 40 acres in area. We have about 1,000 feet of frontage here along Victory Drive. So what are we proposing to do? Mark commissioned an architect to basically develop a building that will fit into the character that he likes to build in, and really try to soften up its facade and its impact on the abutters by really trying to develop a bunch of different materials, different roof lines, and different facade offsets as well. What we have is 4 48-unit buildings. They're located 1, 2, 3, 4. They're each have 41 parking spaces at grade below the living quarters of the building. We have separate garages for each one of these buildings here. So there's 48 units in each building. We have 41 parking spaces at grade below each building, at least 7 unlucky people, or units. So to compensate for that, we have these 7 smaller parking garages throughout the development. We have a 2,000 square foot rental office, so where some of the business administration and rental business to support the development takes place. We have 8 dedicated parking spaces for that right here. In addition to that, we have a 3,500 square foot plus or minus clubhouse. The clubhouse has a pool. It has a fitness center. It has all the amenities that Joel will get into in just a minute here. Also put a lot of time into landscaping, the proposed development, picnic areas, and playground as well in that general vicinity. One of the comments we got from the abutters when we sat down before we really did some of the final design here is these developments generally are pet friendly. And so what happens is you don't account for that during the design. You get people with pets that want to walk their pets, and inevitably they end up walking it through somebody else's property. So what we've accounted for is a quarter-acre dog park or dog park specific for the residents. So this area has been kind of set aside here for the residents who have pets to come in here. They'll be fenced in, so we'll be able to let pets kind of run and won't be a nuisance to the abutters. So what else do we have on site? One of the other items that we have on site is a quarter-acre trail that wraps around the perimeter of the proposed development. This is passive recreation. This is something that a lot of developments have, but it gives you the opportunity, if you live in here, you want to go for a walk, you don't have to go out onto 38 or up and down Victor Drive. Back and forth, you got about half a mile, give or take. So we're also proposing a number of off-site improvements in consideration for the whole project as a whole. That consideration includes, among other things, an open space of approximately 16 acres. So this would be kind of passive recreation and open space. We're currently working with the Conservation Commission to try to figure out exactly how they want to receive that. One of the items that we are also proposing is a 1,900-foot, give or take, 8-foot wide trail. It will essentially connect from Victor Drive along the school property and connect up to the Livingston Street recreation fields. Again, so this will provide an opportunity for people along Main Street, along the Patrick Road development, to tie into the existing sidewalk and then out towards the recreation. Another item that we're proposing is the condition of the sidewalks along Main Street and Victor Drive. They're okay, they could be improved. We're proposing to remove those sidewalks, provide an 8-foot concrete sidewalk along our project frontage. And eventually, we own some old parcels here along Main Street to fill in those gaps moving forward as well. Finally, one thing that we noticed, like I said, this took over a year of design. One thing we noticed as we're doing this design is that when there are activities at the school, there can be situations where a need for overflow parking. One thing we saw was some parking along Victor Drive here, and those were comments we also received from some of the abutters. So Mark has proposed that we provide a 40-space gravel parking area, basically just to the north of the existing soccer fields. I think basically how it works is when there is an activity getting out and another one coming in, you might have buses from another town, parents from another town, there's just a shortage of parking. And once those activities, one ends and the other begins, that basically passes. But this will provide a safe area for that overflow parking. So I guess I just kind of want to wrap up. I don't want to take too much time, but we did commission a traffic report. The traffic report was done to the ITE standards. Planning board reviewed this traffic report. The consideration has been made for the impact that we know we're going to have during the morning, during the afternoon, and our impact on the traffic that we're getting on the school. All of that has been reviewed. They actually hired an engineering consultant to review that report and basically have given it a thumbs up at the last planning board meeting. So we put a lot of time into trying to anticipate what these questions would be and try to answer them before we done. With that,
I just want to follow up on Jim's presentation. The parking area that we're proposing, as you know, when it's basketball season and when it's soccer season, that work would be done by the developer. We'll have to, it have to be approved by the committee because it's not on our property, and we have to go through some pay $1 for the work to be done. However that is done, I'm sure we can work that out.
And the location needs to be figured out there also. That's just our spot. We figured it was the best spot for out there. We can walk the site and you guys think it's best for the overflow parking. It can be bigger than that also. So once you're on site, you can figure that part out too. Just letting them offer and put some parking on the white.
So now comes my role in all this discussion as well. So let me introduce myself. My name is Joel Kahn. I'm with a company called Equity Alliance out of New Hampshire. And my specialty is in assisting developers like Mark in multifamily development. And that covers a gamut of services from doing market analysis to understand your tenant, right through to make sure the numbers fly, to construction, to balance it and make sure that operationally it functions as he envisions it to. So as discussed, this is a 192-unit project. It's comprised of 76 one-bedroom units and 116 two-bedroom units. That's 40% ones and 60% twos. These are first-class apartments that are intended to provide all of the amenities you would expect in a project today. You know, fully applianced and tall ceilings and lots of closets, the things that we believe the renter-by-choice market demands in today. And it's the renter by choice is really, it's an expression that I use often to really define who our profile of tenant are. They are a combination of really a couple people. And what's unique about this is these are 4-story buildings over enclosed parking. So they're all elevated. So the first thing is that makes it very friendly for the seniors. So to come in here, to be able to pull into covered parking, and to be able to take an elevator up, and it creates a unique controlled environment that we think is very appropriate for that segment of the population. And then as discussed earlier, it's also very much about young people today. And a lot of people today choose that to have, rather than to be burdened with home ownership, which I don't think is a burden, but they seem to think so, and wanting to travel, they want to live in apartments, they don't want the obligations until, in fact, they have families, and then they typically move out. These are first class. I won't tell you that they're not on the low end of the spectrum. These rents tend to be on the higher end of the spectrum. Part of the package, when you look at these kinds of projects today, becomes the recreational amenities that go along with it. So we touched upon, Dick, in his comments, or Jim, that we were going to have a fitness center and a pool, and it's going to be an extensive trail network for people. But these are all part of what people are looking for today, to be able to stay in the site and to have the kind of lifestyles that they want. But coupled with that, then it becomes now extensive security packages that go with that. So what happens in these projects is you have a fob system so that the recreational center is open 24 hours a day. You can just go swipe your fob. The garages are protected that same way, so are the entry doors. Entry to the apartments require that somebody buzz in, but different today is actually a camera that that you can go look on the TV and see who's at the door. We're going to also have security cameras around the project as well. Not so much active monitoring, but to ensure that in fact that we've created a safe environment for the residents. All this will also have to be controlled by a on-site management. There'll be staff of at least 4 to do this. There'll be maintenance folks, and to ensure that you're, again, providing the kind of level of service you want. With that, in addition to on-site parking, obviously, the whole these kind of projects, and Jim touched on it, involve extensive analysis of how they impact everything, including such items as traffic. So I'd like to expand just a little bit on the comments made. So one of the things that happens is, of course, you have to look at the Victor Drive 38 intersection. And I have to have been involved years ago when Village Green was developed across the street. And I remember when that traffic light was being approved, there was extensive conversation with the school board at the time about making sure that the southbound lane turning into Victor Drive had an extended queuing so that, in fact, it can support the buses turning back. And when you look at that, there's 2 ways you look at traffic. You look at the 8 a.m. in the morning when everybody goes to work, and you look at 5 o'clock when everybody comes back. And when you look at the 5 o'clock, there's so much room in that queuing lane that we only touch like 30% of it with the cars that would actually be entering the site. Now it goes to the other question, well, what happens in the morning when the opposite occurs, when people are trying to leave, buses are coming in, and of course we know you have a schedule that the buses come in, drop off, and I'm sure go off to pick up children elsewhere as part of their route. And so there was an analysis done where you take the load from the apartments, you analyze that, and in fact data was obtained from the schools about buses and its timing, and they looked at the 8 o'clock time slot as obviously the most active. And what the analysis ended up concluding is that it only added 7-second delay to get through the intersection, even with the additional traffic that happens. And in addition to that, there was always a concern about, well, what's the queuing down in Victor? How much further will cars come down? And in reality, it only really comes about, I think we figured, 60 feet further than it currently queues today, which is why it's only a 7-second change. And they rate these intersections with A, B, C's, and they do all this fancy stuff. And in reality, there was really no degradation of service that resulted because of the fact that when that intersection was enhanced a number of years ago for the other project, it took into account, obviously, lots of flows that would happen and took what was happening in the school at the same time. So again, there are a lot of things that go into these projects today, security, amenities, and we're working hard to try to make sure that, in fact, we're nimble to the market and make sure we adapt to what the market is demanding today. And believe it or not, the last thing I'll say is I know that people go, but look at all these apartments. How many of these can we support in the world? Well, there's been lots of studies about Massachusetts and its need for multifamily housing. And while there's a tremendous amount of new development going on in places like downtown Boston today, the study concluded that even if when all that stuff still comes into service, there's still a tremendous shortage in order to meet the population changes that are occurring. And so that we've looked at the study. This is a lot of money to be spent here. And the client, of course, cautiously keeps asking the question is am I crazy? And we keep looking at the market, and in fact, the market says that there's a demand for it, and if you put the right product in the market and you provide the kinds of amenities we're talking about. With that, of course, I'm happy to take questions or anybody here. Do you have anything?
Thank you for your presentation. I'll open it up to the board members if anyone has any questions or concerns. Mr. Francis?
Thank you for coming tonight, being transparent, tell us about the project. Very exciting. I just have a simple question. If everything goes according to plan, where do you see the timeline for the project?
Well, typically what happens, first off, groundbreaking is anticipated in spring of 2016 if all approvals were granted. Whether or not that means some site work might be done over the winter months, it depends on whether or not we have snow again. And we hate to think that we were ever going to have it again after last winter. It typically takes 8 to 10 months for the first building to come online, and then there's a building that comes online approximately every 2 months thereafter. The intention right now, assuming the market can support it, is to try to build out the project in some sort of orderly sequence.
About 18 months.
18 months. Thank you. Thanks again for coming tonight.
Does anybody else have any questions or concerns?
Just have a
Miller?
comment.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to go to Mrs. Miller first.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, gentlemen. I had a couple of quick questions. I noticed when you gave us the numbers from your Harvard study, you didn't give me the number of students coming in or children coming in new construction. Could you give me that number, please?
Yeah, the number for new construction
Correct.
was 29 versus 31.
Right. Okay. So you're estimating about 58 students or children in this project?
We actually think it would be less than that because you can. I think we had to do the Chapter study that was 11% or something.
What we're finding today is in the higher end product, okay? Because we're not on the lower end where a lot of times families, again, rent it by necessity sometimes, where in fact they have larger families and the impact is greater. What I found in the projects we've done and the statistics I've seen not just here but across the country is that the higher end really generate much less because the young couples who might have the baby while they're in the apartment tend to, as they enter the school age, tend to move out and move into condos and move into other kinds of houses. Now that being said, there are the divorced, the single parents or what have you that often will have, a child. These are not 3-bedroom units. They don't generate that, and in fact, we then start to talk about far different kinds of ratios. And so we don't really see the impact as far greater. And honestly, I bet you, I would expect that you all monitor where your children are coming from today and probably have the data as well to talk about what projects and how many kids come from each one based on the number of 2-bedroom units. And you probably experience often the same kind of statistics as well.
So you don't have an estimate for me based on the 2-bedroom units?
I will give you a number while we talk.
There we go. That's the second question.
Yes.
The second question I have is what would be the traffic impacts during construction for our buses and so forth? You were very clear with your traffic impacts when it's completed, but what would it be like for construction?
Usually you're on site, the deliveries come spread through the course of the day there, but I would say with our superintendent there that we're giving strict time frames when we're not to be traveling for deliveries there, so as long as they adhere to that, there should be minimal impact to that first time traffic goes.
Most of the tradesmen come before the middle school starts, and they usually leave about 3:30. So and deliveries are easier to handle, but the tradesmen would be coming in, and it would be probably before the peak. They would arrive and they would leave.
We put strict times.
I'm sure we'll all work together.
So the answer to your question, somewhere around 30 to 33 students would be the statistical number that one would say you can estimate.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Mr. Dick?
Yeah, just so all the units they're rented or are you going to be rented? And would any in the future be sold? That has to go through the
No, if it was sold, the whole project would be sold in one development, not in the units.
Yeah, I just, just aside from that, I know Mr. Ginsburg's always produced quality products in Tewksbury. He's done a fantastic job. He's invested in the schools, so I know he's got our interest in this. So, I think it's, I appreciate the presentation. He's a current resident. Tewksbury, he's gonna do the right things. And it's nice to see some of that other stuff that we, the bike trail and the parking, that's a good thing for school. So I appreciate the presentation and I support Mr. Ginsburg and what he's trying to do. I think the quality is impressive from what I see in pictures. And I know, I'm sure for a fact that you'll make sure that during school hours, all that stuff is going to be monitored. So I feel very confident. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dick. Dr. O'Connor?
Just two very quick questions. Will there be any excavation work on Victor Drive? Are there any utilities that you'll be tying in there?
There'll be some, we'll coordinate that schedule, construction schedule for you guys, and always let you know within 48 hours or a week in advance.
You'd have to give us a little more notice, particularly if they're going to shut off the road for a period of time. We'd have to coordinate with the fire department, police department, and so forth. The second question deals with security for the school. When we were building this facility here, every laborer, every employee, whether it was our project manager company or the construction company, all went through background checks. Obviously, they're not on site, but have you given any plans to creating any sort of security barrier to keep the tradesmen?
Yeah, we can do quality checks on all the vendors and contractors.
We'll have a construction.
Sure, we should talk about that because that could really have an impact on your bottom line.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes to make you feel comfortable about the vendors and contractors on site, we'll do that.
So, Dr. Khan, we want to have a construction fence up for two reasons. Obviously, we don't want debris coming out of the site, and we don't want any children coming in. Construction sites are very dangerous, so we want to have that secured.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. O'Connor. Most questions have been answered. The one follow-up question that I had that hasn't been answered yet would be, what you just revolved around is that I know this may be a fence. So we have a lot of, believe it or not, we do have a lot of students that walk up Victor Drive to and from school. So the biggest concern, I know we're talking about the buses and so forth, is to make sure that those kids are safe. Because we do have quite a few students at that school that do walk to school, believe it or not. So we want to make sure there was measures taken to protect those children.
The sidewalk will always stay open, number one. Now, we may do that mitigation first as far as widening the sidewalk out, just for that portion of the project to complete, we won't affect your traffic flow.
The reason I say that the sidewalk is actually on the side that they walk where the construction will be, there is not a sidewalk on the opposite side. So we just want to make sure we do something for those students.
If everything goes well, we might be able to try to do that before school opens next year, if we get our permits. So, because at the best you're going to have one lane. If school's not open, the administrators or whatever activities are on during the summer will still be able to get in and out.
And just as a note, when you look at the site plan, it's in relation to the buildings to the street, the buildings are really set back where most of the hard construction will go up. And while, yes, there's site work there, but most of the construction itself will take place further back into the site.
I anticipate a lot of dialogue as we get closer to this thing, before we put break ground. So anything like that, we can discuss and put to running format of the superintendent's manuals that's involved in the office.
And then my second question or point is, in previous projects that we've had, I could use the example of Ames Pond, there was mitigation money that actually went to the schools, and I was very encouraged to hear some of the things that you were willing to do for the schools, but I would wonder if you could look into that, because in the past there has been where they've put money aside for the school, and that money has been very useful for us in projects that we need to complete for our entire district. So I just didn't know if that was something that was discussed or could be discussed through that process. I know we're not part of that, but that would really be terrific.
We have about $1.4 million in mitigation that we're already doing, and we're hoping that the additional tax revenue that it generates without having the burden on the district will bode well for your budget.
That would be true. You can look into that 1.4. There may be some of that money that could be designated to the schools. That would be terrific. And I think Mr. Cutlass has a follow-up question.
The sidewalk, 8 feet wide, is it going to go all the way up to past the softball field there?
Well, I'm going to go up to our property line.
To your property line, yeah. Okay. And then the road is, the entrance is offset from the other side there. Kind of green, right? Yeah, it has to be that. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you,
Looks
Mr.
good.
Cutlass.
Yeah.
I think all questions have been answered. We truly appreciate you coming forth and giving us a heads up and going through the details. I'm sure if any of the committee members have any additional questions, we can reach out to you. But we appreciate you coming this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
after next on our agenda, we have the World Challenge trip to Belize, and I think we have some.
We have two representatives of Tewksbury High School, and I'm very pleased to introduce two first-year teachers that Emily Bierman and Jay Scapa are here. They're going to just sit over at the table, and they're going to tell us about their proposal. And they have someone that they brought with them. Are you with Jay?
Yes, I'm with World Challenge.
Oh, you're with World Challenge. Okay.
Yeah.
Jay, I'll let you introduce her. And second year. I'm sorry, Emily. You've been in 2 years. You still have that new look.
Thanks.
Well, this is Darian. She's a representative from World Challenge organization, which we are proposing a trip for the summer of 2016. It's a 2-week expedition to Belize through this organization, and we're just going to speak a little on behalf of that organization tonight.
So this would be a 2-week trip that would be planned for the summer of 2016. The students, one of the reasons why we really liked this trip in particular is that it's unlike any other student trip that exists currently at the high school. And a few of the things that really make it stand out are, first of all, there's a large service component of the trip. The students actually really take ownership of, and they're responsible for planning it and choosing what they do and where they do it and how it's done. So we really like that aspect of it. And then another thing we really like about this trip is that it's not just the service part of the trip that the students are planning. They're really taking ownership of it the entire year that they're planning for the trips. This would start in September. We meet regularly throughout the whole year. They would be fundraising the entire year. They'd be planning and budgeting for the trip the entire year. And once they get to Belize, they're really in charge of running the show. They have to arrange transportation. They have to choose accommodations. And those are all skills that are really important for them as they grow up and as they go to college. And that would also be something really impressive for them to put on their resumes. Something that would make them stand out, especially in a lot of other districts in Massachusetts. Students are doing these types of trips on their own with their parents' funding. So this would offer our students kind of a leg to stand on in competition to those other types of trips. And in addition to that, we just think it would be a really great experience for our students, something else to offer them an opportunity to grow up and plan something and really take charge on their own.
Yeah, I think a really unique and dynamic aspect to this trip, as Emily was speaking on behalf of it, is the fact that these students are so personally invested from the trip, from the time that they start planning and training even, and preparing for the trip, to the time that they are trekking through the terrain, to the time that they are working on the service project, which is really unique to a school trip, is to be able to give back to the community that you're exploring and that you're taking part in. And I think that that's a very important aspect to this trip is that service aspect of the trip as well.
So tonight, I guess our question to you would be, are you looking for us to approve you to move forward to maybe get a cost analysis? I mean, for us, we need to see the whole, how much is it going to cost, what's the specific details, and I know that Mrs. Vogel's present, there is a process that you need to fill out. I think at this point, we're actually, I know I can speak for myself and other members can speak, we're encouraged and excited for the opportunities this may present to some of our students. I think this is absolutely wonderful. We thank both of you for taking this initiative. We're always trying to do more for our students, and this is a perfect example of that. So I, for one, think this is absolutely wonderful. I don't know if other school committee members want to speak on this topic for travel. Mrs. Miller?
I used to work for a travel company, and I did a lot of travel in my youth, so I think it's fantastic. And I love that it has a service component. I did note it says a select group of 16 to 20 students. Do you have a plan in place for identifying those students? Or
Yes.
does it self-identify? I don't know how.
There's a series of meetings that will take place in September if this trip is approved. The first would be a whole school meeting, and that would just be to sort of gauge what students are interested in the trip. And then the next meeting would be a parent information meeting, which we plan for, I think, back to school night. So it would be right before that, and that way we would get parents to be able to come and listen to the presentation, and Lindsay would be present for that as well. And then once we have that group, which we expect the numbers would be fairly small at that point, that we would start to gauge who's invested in fundraising for the entire year, who is really committed to making this year-long commitment, because it's not just a trip to go sightsee and relax on the beach. We really have to be committed to this trip for the whole year.
Yeah, and I think it is an 8-to-1 student-teacher ratio, so there is ample staff provided per student for this trip. So I think that's, they also have representatives from the organization that is trained in safety, that while we are there as the leaders of the students from the school, that representative will be with us to help facilitate the trip along the way.
And if there were more students than that, that's per team, the 16 to 20. So if there were a lot more students, we just break into multiple teams. We just like them to have a manageable group to travel with, so we don't like the team to be any bigger than 20.
Mrs. Regan?
I just think the trip is fantastic. It sounds awesome, and I absolutely would echo the same component. The service component is fabulous. I'm just curious, is there a 4 credit component that is associated with the trip as well, where students may, whether it is research work in advance or work after the trip, where they could submit that for credit?
That's something that the teachers could work out with the school. If that's something that you guys are interested in, then we can definitely work with you to facilitate that.
Does anyone else have any other? Mr. Dick?
Couple questions. So your role is you coordinate with the
Yep, so I'm the program
teachers.
development manager, so I coordinate with the teachers to launch the trip, and then I'll actually be doing the presentations to the whole student body and then to the parents to kind of go into more detail about the things that they'll want to know.
The company? Do you represent a company? Or?
Yep, World Challenge is the company.
World Challenge.
Yep.
It's, yeah. And what are some of the other high schools that do this?
So we work with Winchester and Burlington, Hingham and Norwell, Oliver Ames, Foxborough, Nipmuc Regional, kind of all over Massachusetts actually.
And then I know the cost can be challenging. Is there, how do the kids that bite this off and want to go? There's plenty of fundraising. I guess that's the main thing. You sure people can pay their way, but it's fundraising.
Yeah, we like to encourage that, just to have the students really feel like they're owning the trip from the beginning, because it is all about the student-led piece. So we provide a lot of support. We have program leaders coming into the school once a semester to run meetings, so they can really provide support with fundraising tips and ideas, as well as some online resources that every student that signs up will have access to.
I'm in favor of it. It sounds exciting, so I wish you good luck, and hopefully get more information, I guess. But I support it.
If we're looking for pricing, insurances, I'm sure the company could provide a lot of that information. Do you think we could have that for our next meeting? And then at our next meeting in July, we make the decision. But I think the committee would like to see, is there travel insurance involved? What's the overall cost going to be? And you talked about the summer. Do you have estimated dates so we can look at that? I did have you say we're going June 15th, and we have 7 snow days, and we're going to school until June 22nd, and kids would have to miss school. So just so we have a little more detail.
We can actually provide you with some of that information now. So the cost of the trip per student would be $27.45 a student, and that's without $37.45 per student, and that's without any fundraising. That's just the baseline.
So it's $3,745.
But
very good.
Everything, yes.
I mean, Madam Chair, I'm all in favor of supporting this, so I don't know if we take a motion and just allow them. I feel confident that with the representation here tonight, that's going to be done right, and with the representation of World Challenge, I feel confident that we can support this. I could. I don't know if we can do it, but that's what we're looking to do tonight.
I think you bring up a great point. I think it's excellent tonight. I do think we should follow the process like the entire district, where you do, they submit to the school committee or Dr. O'Connor, and it details all of it, just like they've done for all the trips. The running school has gone away, the wind school has gone away. We've had other trips here at the high school, and so just make it a little more formalized. We're all encouraged. I think you have our support, and that's what Mr. Dick is here to tell you tonight. If we could just get some more details of that and bring that back in July. And there's other people in the district that have already done this, so you don't need to recreate the wheel. Right. Let's just follow that format and give us more specifics, so that when we're out in the community and then we're being asked, we have that information that we can certainly talk to families out there. So I guess, to echo Mr. Dick, you have our full support. I think every one of the board members here I think it's a wonderful idea. Just give us that detail. If you can have that, our next meeting is July 15th.
Can you work with
Usually the Friday
Principal
before.
Vogel, put together a memo identifying again the types of insurances that would be available, flight cancellations, those sorts of things, dates, the overall costs. We don't need what you're going to do for fundraising, but just give us a little more of the detail, dates and so forth, and we'll approve it at the July meeting.
Yeah, and there's no need for you to come back for the July meeting. If you have other paperwork and get submitted and put in our packets, Dr. O'Connor can follow up with Mrs. Vogel and let you know. There's no need to come back. We feel very comfortable with the three of you and what you presented this evening. Mrs. Matthews.
Just as a possible reference, you said Nipmuc. Did you just go to Paris?
No.
Oh, so it wasn't because Nipmuc just went to Paris and Spain?
Yeah, we don't travel. We just travel to the developing world, so we don't do Europe. That might have been a different company. Yeah.
Well, what's nice is...
Emily, you have questions.
I think our one concern is that we were hoping to kind of put this on some of the kids' radar just before the summer in case some of them want to get a summer job and start working if this is something they're really interested in. So I don't know if we have the approval to kind of...
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, unless there were big red flags, I think you have the full support of this committee, so I think that's fine to go ahead and gauge that interest because in order to make it happen in reality. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Enjoy your week and a half left.
Next on the agenda is Citizens Forum. Dr. Klein, do we have anyone registered to speak this evening?
No one is registered, but we do have visitors here this evening. Is anyone wishing to speak to an item on the agenda? Seeing none.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Klein. I'm going to go over to our clerk, Mr. Cutlass, to present the approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move the regular school committee meeting for May 13th, 2015 minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor to move the May 13th, 2015 regular school committee meetings. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm abstaining.
And I have one abstaining. Thank you.
And I'll move the May 13, 2015 executive session minutes.
A second.
I have a motion, I have a second on the floor to approve the May 13th, 2015 executive session minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And one.
Abstain.
Thank you. Our clerk, Mr. Cutlass, will now present our payroll.
Thank you. I'll move the payroll for the period ending May 21st, 2015, in the amount of $1,183,352.92.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second on the floor to approve the payroll period ending May 21st, 2015. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Do I abstain from this one? Yeah, thank you.
Anyone
Yeah.
abstaining?
Look at here.
And I'll move the payroll for the period ending June 4th, 2015, in the amount of $1,171,702.17.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second on the floor to approve the payroll period ending June 4th, 2015. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well.
I think I can vote on that one.
You did move that one.
Yeah.
So that would be a 5 to unanimous vote. Wonderful. Next on the agenda we have is our consent agenda. Does anyone wish to take anything off the consent agenda this evening? Seeing nothing, can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to accept tonight's consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second on the floor to accept tonight's consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Dr. O'Connor, I'm going to turn it over to you to present the staff and superintendent reports.
Thank you. I'd like to start off by congratulating the class of 2015. They had a tremendous senior week with cruises, trips to amusement parks, and culminated in both the prom, which was well attended by our student body. It was a great night for kids. And then our graduation ceremony here at the high school. Again, the attendance was tremendous. The kids were wonderful. It was a great program all around, and I'd like to thank the committee members for participating in many of these senior week activities. I'm sure it meant a lot to kids, faculty, parents that you were present at many of those events. Flag Day celebration at the Heathbrook on Friday, June 12th. 9:30, we have a number of classes that will participate. The meeting will take place, the ceremony will take place in the cafeteria, and again, it will be repeated later on in the day at 2 o'clock number of classes also participating. I would like to just alert to the committee and parents that I will be shortly sending out a letter to parents that are wrapping up the year. I am waiting for the ratification meeting that the teachers will be holding next Tuesday regarding the newly negotiated 3-year agreement. It is up for ratification with the teachers. And as you know, there are some significant changes that will take place in the school district next year and the year after. I want to make sure I get that information out to parents, but I do need to wait until that ratification meeting is held. And then we will be voting on the contract in July. However, I think it would be important for me to get a letter out before the end of the year. I can't imagine that we will have an issue with the contract, but I am going to send a letter out identifying a number of those changes. In tonight's agenda, you'll notice we only have one handbook on the agenda for approval. That's because I've asked the elementary principals to hold off submitting. I would like our tutor principals to have the opportunity to look at their handbooks, so we'll be bringing those back at our next meeting in July. That's all I have.
Okay.
Mrs. Regan.
Good evening. I have 3 items in the consent agenda I wanted to update you on. First of all, as you saw, the Park states have voted to simplify the testing process. The key changes in that, in the testing reduction would be in time and in the amount, the number of units each portion of the test would include. For example, ELA and math had from 3 to 6 units in its testing, and that will go down to 3 to 4. And then the number one change, which I think made most people in the state very happy, is that Park will go down to 1 testing time in the year. So as you know, that vote's going to take place in the state by hopefully November of this year, and they'll know how we'll move forward in the state of Massachusetts. As you can read in the article, our own Commissioner Mitchell Chester has agreed to these changes and feels it will be beneficial to the state and to students. The next item is an update from our district security team and an update to our active shooter training called ALICE. At this time, all of our faculty and staff in the district has been trained, educated, and participated in ALICE active shooter drill. Our students from grades 5 through 12 have also been educated as well as participated in an active shooter drill in the ALICE protocol. That means 2,400-ish students and about 400 staff members have all participated in the training. The district security team and the central office have met to really determine how we will we move forward with the ALICE training. We feel that we've had a really good plan in place, but it's time to look at some of the feedback we received and determine how we move forward, in particularly at our middle grades, our grades 5 and 6. We had thought we would do the education piece for grades 3, K through 4 this school year, but we're going to move that into next school year. Our goal will be to particularly focus on grades 5 and 6 again, because we believe those 4th graders who have not, there could be a gap. The 4th graders moving to 5th will have not had either the assembly, the education, or some type of adaptive drill, age appropriate. So to be honest, this is a very difficult topic to be educating our staff and students on. We're very sensitive to that. We wish we didn't have to do this type of training, but unfortunately we do. We feel the feedback that we have received now from some parents will help us move forward in better direction with our students. So in summary, obviously the district security team and the Pittsburgh Public Schools has the safety and security of all of our stakeholders, staff, students, and parents, and they appreciate that feedback as we continue to determine how to best meet those needs.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Yes, really quickly, I've gotten some feedback, and I wondered if any thought has been given to students who have demonstrated anxiety disorders, if those students or a plan we put in place to pull them aside, work with a guidance counselor or something else that may or may not have been done this year. It's not a criticism, it's just some feedback I got, and I wanted to raise that.
It's, you know, and I think that, and we've said this probably a number of times in the last couple of days, what can never really be predicted is human response. And while we did plan and work with teachers to say, do you have identified students who may display anxiety? Should we talk to, and we had, I'll tell you, a parent from the middle school has a student at the middle and high school contact us in advance. And we tried to look at that up front, but again, it's always hard to know how human beings, adults and children, may react to this very difficult topic. So, we've learned a lot this year. It's been a 2.5-year process, and I think it's going to continue to learn how to best move forward with these types of drills as difficult as they are. And yes, we'll continue to reach out to our teachers and parents if you feel your child is going to have difficulty before or even after, because we want to continue to provide support so that our students feel safe at school. I mean, it would certainly never be our intent to make any child feel unsafe while they're in our school.
Sure, correct. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you. Okay, and then something I think is very exciting, it's an update really. I think if you remember about a year ago, I think it was in May or June, we did a report together with John Lyons, Cindy Bastieri, the high school, myself, the guidance department on our credit recovery program and the changes we'd like to see happen. And as a result, there was a plan to pilot Edgenuity, an online education system. So what I provided for you was the brochure to our summer academic program now. Under the direction of Kristen Vogel, she implemented the pilot of Edgenuity, was very pleased with the offerings that Edgenuity has, and the availability not only for credit recovery, but enrichment. How do we meet the needs of all of our students through an online programming? So you can see, I won't go through all of it, in the packet is our intent to facilitate the credit recovery and additional high school courses available to our students over the summer if they'd like to take, potentially get a jump on a course they're going to need for graduation requirement. So you can see that for 3 weeks in the summer, students can come to the high school, participate in one of these courses, and if they meet the requirements, get the credit for them. Nice, it's really a nice improvement to our program.
I know Principal Bowman came, she did a presentation.
Yes.
Yes.
And we've expanded the number of kids that are available to take these classes.
Yeah.
It's very...
We'll be replacing VHS and New Start with Edgenuity, but I did want to be really careful to again make note that a live person would be here facilitating those courses, just like we have with VHS. Someone who's monitoring the fidelity of the program and that the students are doing the work and they're showing up, and help when they reach out. I think another key component too is, for example, if it's an Algebra 1 course that students doing for credit recovery, we can adapt the course of Edgenuity to meet the needs of just the credit recovery piece or the advanced and further opportunity for students to adapt.
Thank you, Mrs. Rubin. Mrs. Matthews, do you have anything this evening?
I do. I just have 2 quick things. As we're coming to the fiscal year close, the business office has been really busy trying to follow up on all the open purchase orders and deal with all the vendors. So we kind of broke down the open POs by category and divvied out the open POs for my staff to kind of follow up and close them all out. We forecasted out what we will need for the remaining non-encumbered payrolls, and we're taking into consideration all the utility bills and what we're going to be. And we're still right on track with all of our expenses, so we shouldn't have any trouble for the end of the year. And the other update I want to give you is for the facilities improvement plan. Kiri has been working very closely with us. There's a gentleman named Tony Cunha. He has gone to 3 out of the 6 schools that we're focusing on. So he's already gone to Wynn, the Ryan, and the Heathbrook schools. He's been working very closely with John Marchand. He's gotten on his knees and gone under through tunnels. And he's coming back next week to go to the North Street for doing in the Trahan, and we're still on track. They know that we wanted a complete facilities plan, at least a 10-year out plan that we can present to you in July, and we're still on track to do that as well. And I'm very interested in seeing the finished product and kind of sharing it with the whole community.
Thank you, Mrs. Matthews. Move right along to committee reports. High school building committee. Do we have anything to report?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I talked to Mr. Montori tonight, and he's going to try to set up a meeting finalization of the project. So hopefully by our July 15th meeting, I'll have more details with the council.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr.
Not on the high school building, but the MSBA, did you guys go to a meeting?
I was going to comment on that, on that,
Sure, Mr. Francis.
Yeah, earlier in around the afternoon, Dr. O'Connor, myself, and Madam Chair, we were at a meeting at the State House with Representative Maselli, Jack McCarthy, who's the head of the MSBA, Jim Dayut, who works with the legislators, and Matt Thunder, who is the Chief Operating Officer. And basically what the meeting was about was just to see what the process is, how we're doing, any major changes, and basically the information that we got out of there basically is there's a September to October window in terms of whether or not districts know. Last year, 129 districts applied, of which there were 30 studies, and they awarded 15 projects. This year, only 97 districts have applied, and he said, without getting into detail, he said roughly it's probably going to be about the same in terms of what they're going to award in the project. So it's encouraging to see that they're moving along, and I know that a lot of work was done for our study in terms of what we sent in and a lot more detail. So hopefully we should know something probably late September, early October. It was a very productive meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. The Green Committee, at this time they have not set, Mrs. Miller will be serving on that committee. At this time they have not set dates, but they will be reaching out to you. I think they're doing a reorganization over there. Is a nice way of putting it?
There's supposed to be a meeting tomorrow night, and 2 people are not being reappointed, so they're reorganizing. But I'm on board.
So I'm sure you can come back at the next meeting and provide us a report that there will be a reorganization in that group. Next is the Tewksbury Education Foundation. For all those people that were, they just ran their annual spelling bee. It was absolutely terrific. We had 20 students from grade 4, 5, 6, and 7 all competing to be our top spellers in the district. It was a 2-night event, and the winners for the spelling bee were, because I think this is pretty impressive, and Dr. Carter, I think we should invite these top spellers along with, I think we're going to have the math people that competed in the math.
The math as well as the knowledgeable.
Correct. When we have all those students at a future school committee. But for 4th grade, it was Royce Baker. For 5th grade, it was Hannah Kowalski. I may be pronouncing that incorrect, and I apologize. For 6th grade, it was Catherine Marquis. And for 7th grade, it was Megan Ostertag. I want to thank Dr. O'Connor and Mrs. Miller for being our moderators. We also had some great judges at that event as well. We had our town manager, we had our fire chief, we had our police chief, and we also had Noel Bach from our library. So it was a great collaborative effort, bringing everybody together for the betterment of our students, and it was really terrific. So for those people that have not attended the spelling bee, mark your calendars for next June. It's a must-see. And the students were really great. It was a wonderful event. The foundation is also gearing up, and they're taking all the donations, and they're starting up to gear up for their auction, which will be in November. So more information will come on that. For the special ed executive pack, elections took place last evening. I'd like to congratulate Bianca Cole, who will be the chair, and I would also like to congratulate Jill Fullerton, who will be the liaison for the North Street and the Doing School. I was also told all ideas are welcome for any speakers and presenters and topics for the 2015-2016 school year. Feel free to email the Special Ed PAC. They'd love to hear from you and your ideas for the upcoming year. As far as their schedule, that'll be coming soon, so stay tuned, and they'll get that schedule out as soon as they establish it for those people. And the Wellness Committee, the next meeting scheduled for the Wellness Committee will be on June 18th. At 3:30 right here at the high school in Lodge Group 1. And currently what they're doing right now is they're reviewing the current policy. They're bringing all parties together within the community, and they have big plans to have this wellness committee really take off in the community and bring all aspects and all people from all different parts of the community together to really do like health fairs and look at policies and really create events for the entire town. So that looks like an exciting committee that's at the very early stages, and more information will be coming on that as well. We have no policies or procedures or adoptions this evening. Our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, June 16th at 9 a.m. So we'll have more information at the next school committee meeting on that. And moving right into, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. O'Connor for old business, athletic department needs.
Thank you. You have a memo identifying a list of equipment that interim director, athletic director Ryan Gould submitted based on my request to identify some priorities right now. He identified 3 items that he thought were a priority. The first item is all-weather covers for track equipment. If you were to drive by the new synthetic field, you notice there's a lot of pads and so forth that are out there that are part of the track equipment. He's looking for cover, protective cover for those. He's also looking for an electric cart at approximately $10,000, something similar to a Gator cart or a John Deere cart. I said, Mr. Joy, you're doing a lot of wishful thinking here. But he did also identify aluminum bleachers. These are benches that would be used out on the field for home teams, visiting teams, whether it was lacrosse, soccer, or we have approximately $5,000 available to us as part of the Ginsburg donation to the school district. And I've recommended to you that we purchase the all-weather cover and the aluminum bleachers for approximately $5,000. That would be the max that we could spend. Mr. June is in the process now of working up the purchase orders for those. We will not exceed $5,000.
Okay, thank you, Dr. O'Connor. I would just like to note for the record, again, a special thanks to the Ginsburg family. This was part of that Ginsburg Award,
correct,
where they put aside $5,000 for the recipient of the award to decide how that money should be spent.
And I did have that conversation with Mr. French recently. I explained to him what the athletic director was looking for. He agreed that the $5,000 was appropriate and met the guidelines that we have established in the Ginsburg.
Okay. And I'd like to say thank you to the French family for being part of the process, and also again for receiving that award. So in front of me, we're looking for a motion just to approve the $5,000 that was earmarked in this for, as you read in the document in front of you, for Dr. O'Connor just went to all-weather covered aluminum benches. So I'm just looking for a motion.
5,000 for the benches.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed 5,000.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second on the floor. This will require a roll call vote for the request for all-weather cover and aluminum benches to not exceed the amount of $5,000. Mrs. Miller, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Cutlass, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Francis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Dick, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well, so that's unanimous vote. Again, thank you to the Ginsburg family. If you could get a letter out, thanking them again for that wonderful donation. And also thank you to the French family for being part of the process.
The next item on your agenda is the PR consultation report regarding the assessments that were done at the Trahan School. As you know, we did experience leaks in the roof there this year. We have done some samplings in various locations. This is the second set of results that you have back. In summary, the report notes that there was no obvious instances of suspected mold growth that were observed, and there were very few airborne mold spores were detected at any of the indoor locations. Those results do not suggest the presence of an indoor mold source in classrooms 9, 11, or in the computer area in the library where we did experience leaks. So I believe all total, I think there were 5 separate areas between that first report that you had a month and a half ago, approximately, and this report. So the concerns regarding the roof leaks and mold, I believe we've addressed those.
Does anyone have any questions or concerns this evening?
I had a question for Dr. Connell. What was the cost of that? So roughly. I don't need exactly.
$1,996.
For this report alone.
For the report?
For the service that they provided.
That's a lot of money.
So between the two.
Between the two. It
Yeah.
was both times for them to come out.
Yeah.
It was 2 different.
You know, it's good that we're addressing all the requests. It does cost the district, but you know, it was also good the results came back negative. So I just wanted to get that.
Thank you, Mr. Dick. Moving right along, if you have no other questions, next item on the agenda is the textbooks.
Turn this over.
Thank you. Tonight I'm recommending your approval, hoping that you give us your approval
to purchase and implement the grades 3 through 5 Science Fusion textbook series. At our last meeting, if you remember, I presented the evaluation of the textbook series from all of our teachers that piloted it, and out of a total of 5 points, it averaged a 4.26. Teachers had lots of great things to say, as did our students who use this textbook. We've had the series on public view for the last 4 weeks in person in office, so people have had the opportunity, double the opportunity required to come and see the textbook. So I recommend tonight that we move forward in purchasing the series. As you know, these are funds that were provided to us through the town as one-time textbook funds. And the total of the purchase is $73,099.60.
Does anyone have any questions or concerns this evening? Mr. Dick first, then I'll get you second, Mrs. Miller.
Madam Chair, I just want to make a comment that this weekend I appreciate you bringing this information to the committee. This is, I think, second or third time that we've talked about it. You're taking a lot of care in addressing the needs of the kids. That money's set aside by the town, so I appreciate the effort. And then having the books displayed for 4 weeks, did anybody take advantage of that? Nobody? But I think it's pretty good that you're taking the care that you're doing, so I appreciate that. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Mr. Dick. Mrs. Miller?
Really quickly, I'm excited that there's new science book. That's fantastic. I'm sure it ties in with all the STEM and STEAM initiatives that we're
And
seeing.
with the ELA literacy, because really it the shared responsibility of sciences and nonfiction reading opportunity.
Correct. Outstanding. I just wondered, and I did not make use of going to see it, this was new to me, so I apologize for not having the background. What was the feedback of any MSNTs or special needs teachers that reviewed this book with their students?
There's multi-level, not only supplements, but it's a very language-based program. There's many strategies to meet the need of struggling readers throughout it, and also lots of hands-on activities. So I think what's key is it's very engaging. There's video, there's the labs, and all of the supplemental RTI components that go with it, as well as some diagnostics for the reading portion. Because again, science and social studies now are a shared responsibility for our reading. So they loved it. The students in particular really loved it. I'm going to tell you, they are not accustomed to science every day, and this type of nonfiction text and science lab learning. So they loved that part, but the students did say it was rigorous. So I know we're going to have to continuously train our teachers this type of nonfiction content. How do you help all students access it?
Is there an audiobook component to it?
There's an audiobook component, of course, there's an online component. And I should mention too that this is a 7-year contract. And I think I mentioned in my memo it's about $11-ish per student per year. So lots of materials come with this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. This question has probably already been answered, but refresh my memory. So why is 6th grade not included in this?
At this time, with the state of Massachusetts, and we have the next generation science standards coming down the pike, and they're individually grade specific. Currently, however, the science standards are grade banded. So we have grades 3 through 5. We take the 5th grade science MCAT. We have grades 6 through 8. The Pearson series that we have, grade 6 through 8, is not that old. However, we just recently, that contract was just ran out 6 years. So we are next year looking into what do we do next. Now, knowing those standards are changing, we're not jumping too quickly to buy new things, but perhaps shuffle what is in the classroom at 6th, 7th, and 8th, who needs what, and move forward. I think I mentioned last time we have teachers working on a cross-district curriculum mapping project with 18 other districts. It's very exciting to be building with backwards design. What do we need? What are the big understandings students will need to know based on the new standards? What do we need to do to teach them that? How will we assess they did that? And the last question will be, what's the stuff we need? So really, it's about the big understandings. So I'm excited about K through 2, looking into more of that nonfiction science approach of science A to Z. It's very wonderful reading program, especially the students who struggle with reading. It's multi-level. But then 6 through 8, those new maps and what understandings do we need students to know? We'll have to review their materials next year.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Regan. Mr.
There is
Francis?
plans all the way through.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's great for the textbooks, and I think the 73,000, it shows when there is collaboration between us and the town side of the government, what great things we can do. And I think town manager, again, provided those funds, because it's been tough to do it in our own budget to try to get those books, and obviously we need it very much.
And science also requires that we have lots of stuff to go with it, materials and tools. So the money is very much appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Regan. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion. Madam Chair, to approve the recommendation to purchase science textbook series, Houghton Mifflin Hardcore Science Fusion for grades 3, 4, 5.
Second.
At the cost of $73,900.60.
I have a motion, I have a second on the floor to adopt the science fusion for grades 3 and 4 at the North Street and Trahan schools and grade 5 at the Ryan School. The total cost of the 7-year contract is $73,099.60. This does require a roll call vote. Mrs. Miller, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Cutlass, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Francis?
Aye.
Mr. Dick?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. Again, I'd like to echo Mr. Francis' comments. I'd like to thank the town manager and the board of selectmen for giving these funds and making these funds available so we continue to move the schools in the right direction. This is a perfect example of the textbook. So, thank you.
The next item in old business is an update on our coordinated program review, specifically in the area of English language education. I provided for you the progress report status sheet for progress report number 2. We're making significant headway, I would say, on ELE 17 and ELE 18. Standard 17 particularly applies to program evaluation. Standard 18 particularly applies to student records and the monitoring of those records. The area that we continue to struggle in meeting is criterion number 5, which is the placement, structure, and service to ELL students. And what does that mean exactly? We're struggling with meeting the service minutes for our ELL students. We are significantly below the recommended minutes that we need to service these students based on their access reader levels. So they're tested, they're level 1 through 5, and at this time with the state they provide us with the recommended amount, and I say recommended because you would think that that means not required. However, this report, the continuing progress reports specifically tell us they are requiring us to meet specific minutes for these students. So some of the ways we address this standard this year was by increasing Kathy Henry's part-time hours slightly. Next year, moving forward, we posted, as you know, for a full-time teacher. But truly, the 2 will still leave us sorely under the service minutes we need for these students. So it's something we continue to discuss, and without seeking above budget funds, trying to see how we can squeeze more money out of the budget we have to bring on at least a third
We're looking at that now very closely, and if we can come up with a recommendation for you in July, we will do so. But it has to be money from within our existing budget. We can't go back to the town. This is a challenge as the state is mandating more and more services that we provide. It does have a ripple effect across school districts. In Tewksbury, we're looking at how do we hire staff when we're not fully aware of it during the budget process and didn't necessarily allocate for that.
And it's a moving target, you know.
Yes.
We had last year alone, within a 3-month period, 6 students moved in who were level 1.
English speaking.
Brand new. So, and they of course require the highest minutes. And so, for example, a student like that may need 750 minutes a week. One-on-one instruction. So it's very, it's necessary, however, because the more minutes we can give them early on, the quicker that they are making progress.
Right.
So we need So I want to keep you updated as these projects